All right, welcome. Thank you for participating in today's Home Performance Counts virtual green home tour. My name is Michelle Diller, and I'll be your NAHB host today. Today, the tour series takes us to Reston, Virginia to see Tall Oaks by Stanley Martin Homes. Since 1966, Stanley Martin Homes has focused on designing and building homes people love at a price they can afford. Headquartered in Reston, Virginia, Stanley Martin Homes is Builder Magazine's 2021 National Builder of the Year, ranks number 21 on the Builder 100 list, and is the ResNet HERS Index October Builder of the Month. Stanley Martin Homes partners with PEG LLC, an engineering and environmental consulting firm also headquartered in Northern Virginia, on all things engineering, energy, and building science. PEG's analysts are working to certify the townhomes and flats in Tall Oaks to the National Green Building Standard. NGBS Green Verifiers are involved with the project starting in the design phase to assist their clients in making the best decisions towards certification through rough and final inspections, and then completing the certification process, as you will see in today's tour. Home Performance Counts is a joint initiative of the National Association of Home Builders and the National Association of Realtors. You can learn more at www.homeperformancecounts.info. Please note that the session is being recorded and will be uploaded for on-demand viewing at NAHB.org in the next few days. Please also note this webinar is copyrighted by the National Association of Home Builders and is intended to provide complete and accurate information on the subject matter covered as of the time of publication. I'll give you just a minute to review the copyright and disclaimer statement. Today's learning outcomes are explore how the green building strategies and features of a home can impact its comfort, health, efficiency, and durability for the families that live in them, discuss how to communicate green and high performance features to clients in a relatable way that increases customer interest and understanding, and recognize the advantages of a strong builder realtor relationship and realizing the value of green in your next sale. Today's tour is about 21 minutes and will be led by two of PEG's multifamily and sustainability analysts, NGBS Green Verifiers Abedina Dambo and Tulam. They will be joined by Justin Krupa of PEG and Mike Clearly of Stanley Martin Homes after the tour to take your questions live. So be sure to drop your questions at any time during today's presentation using the Q&A feature next to the chat button at the bottom of your Zoom webinar window. Both the questions addressed during the Q&A and any that we don't get to will be summarized in a PDF and available in the replay library with today's content. Now it's time for the tour. Enjoy.
Hello, I'm Abedina Dumbo.
My name is Tulam.
We're both multifamily and sustainability analysts with PEG. We're located here in Tall Oaks, a Stanley Martin Homes community located in Reston, Virginia. We're also HERS raters and NGBS verifiers. And on today's NAHB Virtual Green Homes Tour, we'd like to walk you through some of the green sustainable practices being implemented at various phases of the residential construction process. I will walk you through some practices being verified at design stage, and then move into a home in its rough stage, and then finally end at a home in its final stage.
This is Stanley Martin's Tall Oaks community. It is situated in a picturesque residential neighborhood area of Reston, Virginia. Within this community, you will find different types of homes, including townhomes, two-level condos, and one-level condo units. The community's location is ideal because of its proximity to Reston's town center and several other amenities. All homes in this community are to be certified to the 2015 NGBS Bronze level, as well as Energy Star Certified Homes version 3. Our inspection and verification process is usually done in 3 stages: the design stage, rough stage, and final stage. In the design stage, we hold a kickoff meeting with the builder to go through detailed site and architectural plans, apply spec sheets, and other documents to determine which level of certification can be achieved and to suggest the best compliance pathway that works best for the builder. In this meeting, we communicate all mandatory practices and determine if any additional practices need to be included in the design to meet a certain certification level. The takeaway from this initial kickoff meeting is a filled out design section of the Home Innovations and GBS scorecard, which establishes the design intent of the builder. At this design stage, lot selection is at the top of the process. Location is an important factor when it comes to sustainable practices. This aspect of the verification process falls into the design stage as we begin to verify practices using site plans provided by the builder. Tall Oaks is a community being built on an infill site where previous infrastructure used to stand. By repurposing this land, Stanley Martin Homes is improving the built environment without expanding its footprint in a way that encroaches on the greater surrounding natural environment. Stanley Martin is also providing a more sustainable option for the homeowners in this community by selecting a site with close proximity to basic amenities and public transportation. Tall Oaks is located within half a mile of basic community resources such as banks, retail stores, restaurants, and so forth. The proximity of these amenities to Tall Oaks reduces the impact of transportation. Public transportation is also very accessible to the homeowners. The lots are all within 5 miles of a DC Metro station with options for parking, so residents are empowered to limit the use of vehicles. The street adjacent to the community also has rights of way specifically dedicated to bicycle use, which contributes to reduced emissions otherwise generated by vehicle use. These common sustainable decisions usually happen early in the design and lot development stage and are practices that we easily verify at the design stage of the project.
As we walk towards the rough construction stage, I would like to advise that you engage your NGBS verifiers early on in the design process. The reason for this is because we NGBS verifiers can assist in ensuring that all mandatory requirements and all credits selected are met throughout the life cycle of the project. We can also assist with providing cost-effective alternatives in the situation where design changes are made somewhere along the line. Also, as HERS raters, we conduct site inspections and do the performance testing, for example, the envelope tightness test, as well as the duct leakage test.
The next stage of our inspection and verification process is at the rough stage of construction prior to the installation of drywall. As part of our first inspection visit to the lot, we conduct inspections for all practices that can be verified at this stage. This covers practices that have to do with lot preparation, construction materials, and waste, and some energy efficiency features of the building.
Now, there are many misconceptions about building green and sustainable. One of them might be that it's too expensive, another might be that it's too complex. But with proper planning, we can avoid both of these. So, next to me here we have a pile of prefabricated wall components. These prefabricated components can help increase efficiency by reducing the number of cuts done on site, which reduces the number of man hours required to make the cuts, but also reduces the amount of waste being generated during the construction process.
Looking now at the system assemblies here throughout the home, it is important to point out that most components seen have been pre-assembled and prefabricated off-site and shipped from the plant in the form of panels. This construction method goes a long way to enhance material efficiency by eliminating most, if not all, manual cuts and assemblies that would otherwise be done on-site.
As part of the Energy Star requirement, I'd like to point out the advanced framing technique on display on this lot. Advanced framing contributes significantly to the energy efficiency of the home by replacing excessive lumber with insulation material. It also adds additional cost and sustainable benefits. One, by limiting the amount of natural resources being used for the home assembly, and second, it contributes to lower material costs for the builder. The advanced framing technique we see here on site is a 16-inch on center on a 2x4 wall, And if you had a 2x6 wall, it would be a 24-inch on center as required by the Energy Star standard.
Limits of clearing and grading demarcated on the lot plan are also staked out on the lot prior to construction in order to establish buffer zones to minimize the impact of development on surrounding natural areas.
One key component of lot design is applying silt fencing. Silt fencing prevents debris and material from the construction site from washing into unintended areas. These unintended areas could be lawns or they could be creeks and streams. This prevents unwanted contaminants from ending up in nearby locations that you don't want them to end up at.
The last general lot design element to emphasize from outside the home is in regard to the footprint of the home. Townhouses are exceptionally space efficient given their vertical design and because they add conditioned floor area vertically without expanding their lateral footprint, unit density is increased. These stacked stories are a fundamental consideration in every green building design. This entire Stanley Martin community is a perfect example of increased unit density because every single house or condo is designed with unit density in mind. The last item I would like to highlight is this home's passive radon system. Being that this house was built in Radon Zone 1, which is the highest out of the EPA's 3-tier regional scale classifying risk of radon intrusion, a mitigation system here is mandatory. This pipe we see here runs from a core within the slab, up through a riser, and on through the roof, terminating 12 inches above it and greater than 10 feet away from any windows.
The NGBS standard provides flexible options to meet its energy efficiency requirements. There is a performance pathway, prescriptive, and alternative bronze or silver pathways. The pathway chosen for this community is the alternative bronze pathway, which requires that the building qualifies as an Energy Star version 3 certified home. This satisfies the energy efficiency bronze level threshold of the NGBS standard. So while on site, we inspect that all items required to meet the NGBS standard are in compliance, as well as all mandatory and selected NGBS practices. In situations where practices are not fully implemented, we communicate any necessary corrective action that needs to be done to superintendents and project managers while on site. At a minimum, only 2 site visits are required, but when corrective actions need to be revisited to ensure compliance, additional site visits become necessary. The Energy Star compliance pathway sets strict construction practices and HVAC systems performance threshold to ensure the home is energy efficient. We visually gather data on site, which we use in creating the most accurate representation of the home's energy performance, while also verifying construction practices that are required by the standard. We verify that all installation achieves grade 1. We focus on the installation of fully aligned air barriers at walls behind shower tubs, attic knee walls, walls adjoining garages and porch roofs. The same air sealing practices used in exterior walls are used to prevent unwanted and potential harmful contaminants from migrating into the home. We also ensure airtight sealing techniques were done. This involves making sure the ducts, flues, plumbing, wiring, and other penetrations to the outside are properly sealed. We ensure that above-grade seal plates are sealed and gasketed. We visually verify the installation of ductwork, as well as test the HVAC system for duct leakage. We gather fenestration values of all windows and glass doors. Our inspection process ends at the home in its final stage. But before reaching this point, it is our responsibility as third-party verifiers to ensure compliance with rough stage practices before drywall is installed. This is true especially when the performance results of the home at the final stage are directly related to the rough practices being inspected. At the final inspection, we continue with the verification and inspection of mandatory and selected NGBS practices that can only be verified when the home nears its completion.
Here we are at the home in its final state. A green home built by Stanley Martin. But before we go in, just as in the rough stage, there are a few items we can verify before stepping in. As you can see behind me, the landscaping has been installed already. We take photo documentation so that we can verify the practices that were selected at the design stage.
It is important to have a registered landscape architect or certified professional put together a full landscape plan for the lot. This step is most important because it provides a chance to restore or enhance the natural vegetation that used to cover the lot pre-development. Your landscaper will be able to select verifiably non-invasive species for your lot's inventory and can design the layout intentionally to minimize watering requirements without sacrificing beauty. Through hydrozoning and appropriate plant selection, the landscape will not only be without need for an irrigation system, but will also be optimal for manual watering, ensuring no plants get more water than they actually need. While still on the topic of water conservation, we verify low flow fixtures at 3 locations within the lavatories of the home: in the bathroom sink, in the water closet, and the shower heads. Just minimal enhancements in these locations can increase indoor water efficiency by 25%. We also verify in the kitchen that all installed appliances are water conservant where applicable. This applies to dishwashers and clothes washers, on which we look for the Energy Star label called the Energy Guide. Moving from water efficiency, let's discuss the other primary operational metric of energy efficiency. Joining the thermal envelope characteristics that we verify at rough-in stage, the internals of the home are what we verify here at final. Both the core and shell prescriptive items of the Energy Star checklist are then combined with performance testing results in the confirmed energy model we assemble to verify overall energy performance in the form of a HERS score. We gather performance results from the duct leakage test and infiltration test.
As part of the performance testing that we do, duct leakage test is a requirement. You can do it at rough stage or at final stage per the Energy Star standard. At rough stage, the performance threshold is different compared to at a final stage. At rough stage, you need to be under 4%, which means 4 CFMs per every 100 square feet area. If we were to test at final, like we have set up here, we need to be under 8%, which means 8 CFMs per every 100 square feet area. As you can see, I have my duct blaster set up. I have my return sealed, except the one that I'm connected to. This return is the closest to the HVAC system that's in here. I have all supplies in the home sealed up as well. And the goal is to pressurize the system to 25 pascals, and using my manometer, I measure the total leakage, which goes to unconditioned and conditioned space. This performance result is what we use in our energy modeling to establish the HERS index score. The same process is used to measure total leakage to unconditioned space. To do the total leakage to unconditioned test, we have the same setup in addition to the blower door. We use the blower door to pressurize the home to 25 pascals, similar to pressurizing the duct at 25 pascals. That means both systems, the envelope itself and the duct, are at the same pressure level. We then use the manometer to measure the leakage. That leakage that we measure is considered the leakage to unconditioned space because the home is in equilibrium. Both these performance results are what we use in our energy modeling software to establish the HERS index score, just as we've done in this home.
Energy efficiency rating of the mechanical equipment by taking the model and serial number of the equipment installed in the home and verifying it with the spec sheet provided by the builder. We verified the installation of energy consumption control devices such as the thermostat. Turning our attention to the indoor air quality, we verified the installation of HVAC air filters and that they are of the right MERV rating, above MERV 6 for Energy Star and at least a MERV 8 or higher to gain points under the NGBS standard. We test the ventilation rate of all exhaust fans and mechanical ventilation to ensure we are meeting the design ventilation requirement of the home. This is in addition to verifying the ductwork for the exhaust spot ventilation to ensure that it is ducted to the outdoors during the rough stage inspection. This facilitates a complete purge of air contaminants from the conditioned space. The kitchen range hood fulfills this green building practice in the same way. many hood fans are recirculating, but the kitchen typically provides more indoor air contaminants than anywhere else in the home. Having this feature installed here does a great amount to ensure a healthy indoor environment. In the laundry room, we verified that the vent cap leads directly to the outdoors so that no hot, humid, or particulate-filled air is recirculating while drying clothes.
Here at my desk, I'll be reviewing the plans for this house. I will be taking measurements of the exterior dimensions and capturing the thermal envelope of the house. From there, I will construct a 3D model that contains only assembly areas. I'll be transferring the resulting data from our house modeling software into Ecotrope, which is our energy modeling software. One last topic we must cover on the way out deals with the overall accessibility features and modular capabilities of the home. Beyond thinking of the life of the home, proper green building practitioners think more of the life of the folks within the home. These homes are designed and built to last, and regardless of how large or small the number of occupants are, it should be designed to cater to the needs of any disabled occupants. In doing so, the quality of life improves for all its occupants with or without disabilities, present and future. Accessibility-oriented homes also add an aspect of modularity in how they reduce the potential need for remodeling to occur, which can significantly increase the home's embodied carbon over its lifetime. These ADA-inspired accessibility-oriented features can be incorporated into the home in such ways that require a trained eye to notice. Part of being a homeowner is taking care of the house. A training manual is required to be provided to the homeowner in order to educate them on their home's green components. The training manual for this community includes information on energy-efficient appliances, steps taken to improve the comfort and health of the home, and sustainable practices followed during construction. This training manual is also responsible for listing out maintenance requirements and intervals for systems in the house.
The outcome of our inspection and performance testing comes in the form of the HERS score. This home has a HERS index score of 60, as shown on this certificate. The calculations come from a combination of the building envelope characteristics, such as the values of the insulation used in the walls and ceiling, and the performance values and area of the windows. In addition, the calculation takes into account the performance results from the tests we conduct on site, such as the duct leakage test result, the infiltration test result, and ventilation rates that were measured. All these in combination with the energy rating of all installed appliances gives us the calculated energy rating of the home. By verifying the additional checklist items required by Energy Star and meeting those requirements, the home then receives its Energy Star Certified Homes version 3 certificate. Then finally, by us completing the NGBS scorecard and compiling all additional documentation for practices that were selected and sending it to Home Innovations for review, the home can prove compliance to the NGBS level it sets to achieve and obtain a certificate, such as this that's on display here.
Thank you for joining us on this month's NAHB Virtual Green Home Tour. We hope we have been able to inform you about PEG's green building verification process while taking a walk through this gorgeous community by Stanley Martin Homes.
Goodbye.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the tour. We're going to bring in the people for our Q&A now from PEG and from Stanley Martin. I'm Michelle Diller, again with NAHB Sustainability and Green Building Program. I'm going to be leading the Q&A session today. Thank you, Abedina and Tour 2 for the great tour of Tall Oaks. That was awesome. And the ins and outs of NGBS green certification. Very detailed, very awesome. Thank you. And we're also joined by Justin Krupa from PEG, and we've got Mike Cleary from Stanley Martin Homes, and my colleague Anna Stern, also with NHB Sustainability and Green Building. All right, everybody, we've got some time now for questions. So I see one question in the Q&A, which we're going to get to in just a moment. And if you've got anything else, drop it in and we will get to it. But first, I wanted to start off with something that we talked about when we were on site looking at the homes for this tour and talking about how we were going to put the tour together. I was excited because this was the only one that I've actually gotten to go to in person all year, with it being in Virginia and me being in Virginia. Anyway, what I wanted to have you talk about just for a couple minutes is when we were on site, and most of the tour today talked about NGBS certification for the townhomes. But the Tall Oaks neighborhood also has condos, flats in it, which I know is kind of a new product in this area for Stanley Martin. So I was hoping Abedina and you and Justin, you could talk about if you see some difference in the strategies towards certifying or things that have to be done differently between the townhomes and the flats.
Sure, Michelle. Thank you very much for the introduction, and thanks Abedina and for that video. Yes, and as you say, Tall Oaks does have two different product types, ranging from townhomes to condos. And the elevator flats specifically, we have multiple floors, multiple units per floor of one level, and applying green building verification procedures to those types of products is a lot more effort when you look at the number of single family dwelling units in a pressure boundary of the building. There are additional overlays that you should be aware of when you're a verifier or when you're a builder building those products when relative to single family detached products. Those involve and open up the opportunity for sampling. ResNet and the mortgage industry standards has specific sampling protocol which you can use to reduce the burden of the number of lots without sacrificing the integrity of the product itself. If you're using the ResNet mortgage industry standard sampling protocol for a product that's also pursuing NGBS certification, you should be aware the NGBS, as facilitated by Home Innovation, does have additional sampling protocol that you should follow, depending on the practices that the product is going for, that the building is going for itself. And so overall, what you do is you look at the building made up of the individual units, you approach each unit and it's each unit type in a way that the outcome, while reducing the burden, is representative of the building as a whole.
All right, great. Thank you for that explanation, Justin. Does anybody else have anything to add?
I would add to myself, I suppose, the certification for NGBS. For multifamily buildings, you treat the building as one project, and the building as a whole will get one certificate. You do have the option of obtaining certificates for each unit within the building if you work with Home Innovation to do so. Typically with single family, what we see is one certificate per building per detached product. And so there's another option there for multifamily that could be different.
Great. I think that's a great distinction to make. Thank you. All right. We have a question from Andrew that says, what are some ways that property management companies can reduce their energy usage without renovation? We already use low flow faucets, LED bulbs, and only use Energy Star applications. What are some other strategies we should consider implementing across our portfolio that would save us money and be reasonable according to the owners?
Right off the bat, I would say energy metering devices or energy management systems that can keep records of utility usage and energy usage over time can help give you insight as to where you need improvement. And then I would say, similar to NGBS, the homeowner manual or education for the homeowners really helps a lot. Sometimes you might have all of these low flow fixtures and high energy efficiency appliances, but without communicating that to the homeowners, you might be losing the intent there. And just continuous education to homeowners and reminding them of the things you have installed would get them to also live in the homes in a sustainable way.
On that exact point, Abedina, one specific device within the home, the ventilation system, fresh air ventilation system, is an area where we commonly see the operation being astray from the design intent. And homeowner education is very important when it comes to that fresh air system, because not only does it draw power when it's in operation, but also either pulls in through negative pressurization or pushes in through positive pressurization fresh air within the home's envelope that needs to be conditioned so it can put additional stress on the HVAC equipment itself, the heating and cooling equipment. So a lot of homeowners, if they're running it too often, more often than they need, of course, health is the utmost importance, but that could have a significant implication on the energy usage, the energy efficiency as a whole.
All right, great. Those are some great tips. Andrew, if you've got any follow-up on that, please feel free to pop it into the Q&A side. In the meantime, I've got a couple other questions here. I would like to see, Mike, I'll throw one at you. Have you seen a change in customer asks or expectations since the onset of COVID? Are they asking for certain features more? Were they responding more favorably when looking at your product offerings to certain things? What have you seen in the market? Oh, you're on mute.
The pandemic has definitely changed consumer awareness and also consumer knowledge, particularly with indoor air quality. And one of the things that we try to do with Stanley Martin Home is to really address it, is really to understand the three primary components in the different climate zones that we build. And that's fresh air, as well as ventilation and dehumidification. And again, in our HVAC design, in our building envelope, our air sealing, we take all those things into consideration. And I think as a builder, we've really advanced in each of those areas. And that really drives in the consumer's mind the awareness of a healthy home, which is so prevailing today, not only at home, but also in the workplace.
Yes, definitely, for sure. Anybody else? Anything to weigh in that they're hearing out there? Nope. That's fine.
The other area, again, it just really ties in so well to the National Green Building Standards, is really the awareness of consumers, customers, homeowners, really understanding better today than in past energy efficiency, and also the utility consumption for homes that may not be as efficient. So as a builder, you definitely need to address those areas that tie so well in with Energy Star and National Green Building Standards. And again, that's an area that we'll think continue to be an important decision in the buy process.
Okay, definitely. Great. Yes, I think there's been a lot of awareness. People had a lot of time on their hands to read too, and just discover what they liked and didn't like about the homes that they were stuck in for a year. So I'm going to go back to something back from the inspection parts of the video, and just to give our viewers a little bit more explanation about what it means to be grade 1 insulation. This is a requirement under the NGBS. So can one of you explain just a little bit more about what that means, and maybe a few tips for builders and tradespeople to actually achieve the grade 1?
Okay. So grade 1 is a grading for insulation installation. You can be graded 1, 2, or 3. Achieving grade 1 is mandatory for NGBS. That's the highest grade level you can achieve. Grade 1 basically means uniform installation of the insulation, meaning it fills the cavity, each cavity uniformly, side by side, from top to bottom, with no compressions, no excessive compressions based on plumbing pipes or wiring coming across it, and also no voids left open before you put in drywall. And the reason for that is your installation is most effective when put based on its depth, rather than when it's compressed, or rather than when you cut out a part of it, because then that way you have air gaps in there that allow for excessive heat, either coming into your home or leaving your home. So the grade 1 installation, you can visually verify it, and also while we are on site, basically stick our hand in there to make sure that it's in contact with the surfaces, all 6 sides, so top to bottom, side to side, and the drywall or the sheeting that's behind. And that's best practice for grade 1. And we verify that on site. If you're not in grade 2 or grade 3, we communicate that to project managers. Communities that have really good insulators would be very aware of this, and they might just miss 1 or 2 cavities where they would need corrections. New insulators usually struggle with this, where we have to be on site while they are insulating, so that we can show them the best practices rather than just capturing the value of the R value of the insulation itself.
Yes, Mike's got his hand up.
Great points. The other, great point in terms of insulation is in terms of the application. It's really look at cold spots in the home on perimeter walls, such as the corners where we use advanced framing techniques in terms of 3-stud corners, so we can get the insulation there on the corner of the home. The other area that is also often overlooked in insulation is that perpendicular walls to the exterior. And again, being able to frame as such that insulation can be on the outside wall where that perpendicular wall intersects. And then the third, point in terms of better building practices on insulation is not only the proper application, but look at exterior penetrations and also higher infiltration points such as the band boards. And one of the things that we'll do in combination with insulation, we'll use closed cell foam at band boards to seal up exterior penetrations to really maximize the R value and performance of insulation, as well as minimize the infiltration of outside air. Again, creating a tight building envelope that performs much better in terms of energy efficiency. So, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Good explanation of how it goes in and good explanation about the importance of it. Are you seeing problems? Are you seeing the trades being more educated on not coming back through and maybe messing with, for lack of a better term, somebody's good grade 1 insulation if somebody's, coming back to put in electrical or plumbing or anything? Or is that a matter of education mostly?
I would say matter of education, but that does happen a lot where the trades conflict between each other. The good thing from our standpoint in terms of our process is once we do a pre-drywall inspection, usually the builder are scheduled to drywall right after. So that means no one is coming in to do anything after that. Usually in the case where we come in and a lot is failing because they don't have grade 1 insulation, it's probably due to maybe the plumber or the wire and some person coming in and basically pulling out the insulation and not putting it back in there. So definitely education would help all the tradespeople to understand the benefits and the reasons why they cannot mess with other tradespeople's work.
Okay. Speaking of tradespeople, can some of you touch upon the importance of the trades knowledge and experience with green building techniques, not just how it's designed, but how it's installed and how that can really make a difference in how the process goes?
Yes. In terms of green building practices and how they apply it, one thing I would say for sure is relating energy efficiency. So specifically ductwork and HVAC system installation. They are aware that you need to be energy efficient and you need to install the system according to the standard. But there are some tricks here and there that that gets overseen so that they can understand the reason why we measure duct leakage as we do. And some of those tricks and techniques we communicate and try to give them the education regarding why total duct leakage would affect the overall efficiency of the home eventually. And some of those usually come with the supply registers, installing the supply registers and making sure they're well sealed. That usually gets overlooked. Mike has a
Yes, Mike.
also.
And just to piggyback on the comment, as a builder, one of the things in terms to really minimize duct leakage is to really understand in terms of fabrication and how that round duct is not only applied, but the seam then face down, so we can ensure that the mastic sealant is properly around the ductwork. Some contractors won't pay attention to that, and sometimes where that seamed edge may be hidden from view and you're unable to verify, but it's tricks like that in terms of educating the contractor on the application that you would like to see. So the other area is again the use of whole house electronic air cleaners, again coming off the main system to really minimize the air leakage in an area where it's typically very high. But it's really understanding as a builder those high leakage points and address them through regular inspection and have the house ready for the verifier to review.
All right, good information. Thank you. Anybody else have anything to add? Otherwise, I think we're going to do one more question and then we're going to be coming up on our time. Let's see. We saw Aberdeen and two stand next to the nice TV screen there with the NGBS certificate on it. And I know that's in the sales office. So I'm curious about how you talk to potential customers that are coming in, that are coming in to look at a Stanley Martin product. Do you talk to them about NGBS and the green, or do you focus on other features? Do they ask about it?
I think that's a process that starts from point of sale through delivery of the home. And so at point of sale, that's addressed, as well as the third party verification process, what the green building standards are, what Energy Star means. And again, it's a whole process that culminates with the closing of the home and the providing of the training manual to reinforce the build process, the outcome, as well as the home energy rating score, which really kind of culminates with a score that we think in terms of our homes and performance standards is one of the higher rated built homes for production builders. But it's a complete process from beginning to end to shape the expectations, and as a builder we need to meet and exceed those expectations, and our scorecard is there when they go to settlement to see how we perform and also to share with their neighbors.
Definitely, for sure. All right, we are coming up on our time. I see one more question in the chat. Can you all see that? If somebody could type an answer perhaps while I do a wrap up, that would be fantastic. Otherwise, we'll follow up with Andrew later. He's asking if anyone knows of an incentive that's appealing to owners to improve energy efficiency when tenants are responsible to pay for utilities. So yeah, we could probably spend a whole 45 minutes on that topic. Andrew, if somebody can type something in quick, they will. Otherwise, I will follow up with you more about that. But we're coming up on our time, and I want to respect everybody's time for joining us today. I appreciate it. Want to let you know that we're going to continue. If we can get another, we've got the slide up. Oh, she's on top. There we go. Thank you. We'll continue on the third Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern for the rest of 2021. If you've missed any of our previous tours, please check out our replay library. This one will be up. All of our past ones are up there, and they include the Q&As. You'll receive a link when today's tour posts to get to that library, or you can search NAHB Green Home Tour Replay and you'll get it. So we hope you'll remain with us for the remaining 2021 tours. They've both got an exciting and unique high performance story going. Next month, we're going to experience high performance at the highest level, but also learn how these efficient and healthy strategies are scalable to all homes. On deck, we've got Bill Hayward of the Hayward Healthy Home Score, his newly completed family home on Pebble Beach, with Bill and with Jillian Pritchard Cook of Wellness Within Your Walls, which is one of the programs that Bill used as he designed and constructed his new family home. Looking forward to that. I know they filmed that last week. And then in December, something that's been being filmed over the last few months, we're going to check out high performance remodeling journey of a mid-century modern home in the Texas Hill Country with Heather Ferrier-Laminack of Ferrier Custom Homes. So those are going to both be exciting presentations, and we hope that you can join us on that. Meantime, I'd like to thank once again our entire panel, Abedina, Justin, and Mike, for their time and for sharing their expertise with us. If we can put that last slide up, that'd be great. Thanks. Today's session is being recorded, as I said. It'll be available on demand at nhb.org. In the meantime, if you've got any questions, you can email me at mdiller@nhb.org or nhblearning@nhb.org. So thanks for joining us, everyone, and we hope to see you next month, and have a great day.